Hi, everyone, and welcome to Echo Live. My name is Anna, coming to you, as always, from the Michigan Science Center's Echo Distance Learning Studio right here in Midtown Detroit. Today, we are celebrating what we are calling Science in Bloom because this month at the Michigan Science Center, we are celebrating all things May flowers. So you might know, as the saying goes, we've dealt with a lot of April showers or rainy periods, and that's brought us beautiful flowers popping up right here in Michigan and all around the country. So if you visit the Science Center this month, you will get a chance to stop by and do an activity with us that we like to call a flower dissection. So normally when we think of dissections, oftentimes we think of things like dissecting specimens or preserved animals. But flowers are living things too, and they have some pretty amazing anatomy. Now, if you have a favorite flower, you could go ahead and let me know what that favorite flower is in the chat. I know that my all-time favorite flower is a flower called the plumeria flower. It grows on these big bush-like trees, and I actually saw them for the first time in Hawaii. So let me know your favorite flower in the chat. But we are going to talk about a really interesting group of flowers called the Asteraceae family. Now, the Asteraceae group of flowers or flowering plants actually is over 25,000 different species of flowering plants. That's about 10% of all the flowers that we see here on Earth are part of the family Asteraceae. And the most common one that you might find growing in gardens or at the grocery store or at a flower shop if you are looking to purchase someone flowers. And there's a really great reason to purchase someone flowers coming up this weekend. But a daisy is actually a part of that group of flowers that we call Asteraceae. Now, these are great flowers to use in dissections because they are pretty inexpensive. You can find them just about anywhere. But like we said, they're actually very unique in terms of their structure. Now, a daisy, or any flower that's a part of the group Asteraceae, is actually what we call a composite flower, meaning that it's made up of two different types of flowers. So on every daisy, if we take an up-close look here at the daisy that I have here in my hand, every daisy is made up of two different types of flowers. There are ray flowers, which are these larger petal structures around the outside of our flower, but actually every single small individual piece of this kind of central structure in our flower, these yellow bits, and sometimes they can be different colors in different species of composite flowers. But here in the center, each one of these individual yellow pieces is a flower itself that we call a disc flower. So all together, we would refer to this as the flower head. That's made up of both our ray flowers, the larger pink ones around the outside in this daisy, and the disc flowers, these small individual flowers in the very center. So we're going to switch my camera over here in just a moment so we can talk about some of the anatomy. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce a vocabulary word about the symmetry of this flower. Now, we might know the term symmetry, right? Meaning that something that is symmetrical is the same along a central point. So if I were to draw a line with my finger right down the center of my flower, we could say that it does have symmetry. But flowers, just like many other living things or items in nature, exhibits a type of symmetry that we call radial symmetry. So radial symmetry means that this flower is symmetrical all the way around a central point and in a circle. But daisies and flowers are not the only things in nature that exhibit radial symmetry. We also see radial symmetry in things like snowflakes, where if we were to draw a line in any direction across this snowflake, we would see symmetry along that line as well. Jellyfish are also radially symmetrical, and even other plants besides flowers, like oranges, are exhibit radial symmetry. So in a composite flower, they have all of those disc and ray flowers arranged around a center point. And so this daisy and all these different 25,000 different species of Asteraceae flowering plants all exhibit radial symmetry. So let's take a look down at my tray now. So I've switched my camera over and I have some just very simple materials on my desk here so that we can perform our flower dissection. Now I have a guide, and you can find all sorts of guides depending on the species of flower that you might choose. So if you don't choose to purchase daisies for your flower dissection, if you pick up a flower outside, you can find a guide almost anywhere online with a quick search that has some various labeled plant or flower parts. Most flower dissections can also be done with a simple pair of tweezers. And so I have a simple pair of tweezers down here on my tray. But in some cases, you might also want to get something sharp. So I'm going to be using a scalpel for one small part of my flower dissection today, but you don't need to use a scalpel. You can use a sharp knife, but of course, if you are using something sharp, make sure that you get an adult to help you with your flower dissection. Maybe the person you purchase your flowers for would be willing to help you with the part of our dissection that is going to require our sharper utensil here. So in my case, a scalpel, but a pair of scissors or a sharp kitchen knife would work just fine as well. So let's start deconstructing our daisy here, our Asteraceae flowering plant. Now it seems sad, but it's for the sake of science. I'm just going to start plucking off my petals, or what we said are considered our ray flowers. Now each individual structure that I'm plucking off is actually its own flower that has both a stigma and style, which are the reproductive parts of a flower, and a corolla and an ovary on the very bottom. So if I pick up just one of my ray petals or ray flowers here, and I hold it just close enough to the camera, hopefully my camera will focus here, we can actually see that each individual ray flower has its own anatomical structures related to it. If my camera is not going to focus here, I have a pretty great diagram of what that ray flower would look like up close. So here we have our ray flower, and we said that we have our stigma and style, a very, very small piece of our ray flower, and that is the female reproductive parts of a daisy. Down below, we have what we called our up above is our corolla, and corolla sounds like corona, and coronas, we might have remembered from our virtual planetarium, means crown, which is the name for the petal-like structure. But then way down on the bottom, we have the ovary, which is what's actually going to help us give rise to new daisies, similar to an egg or an ovule. So as we're plucking off those individual ray flowers, we can start to see even more up close views of our disc flowers. So if we look very close now, maybe if I get my fingers out of the way here, we'll get a better view of our disc flowers. Try to get our camera to focus. Just doesn't want to cooperate. But each one of these individual yellow pieces, maybe if I pluck one off, we'll get an up close view, we have individual flowers here. Drop a couple of them down here on my hand, and let's see if we can get my camera to focus one more time before we'll head back over to our diagram. There we go. Oh, did it for a second. Each one of these yellow structures is actually its own flower with its own set of reproductive parts. Now again, this is a great activity that you can do yourself. This Sunday, you might know, is Mother's Day, which is a great excuse to buy someone in your life flowers. That could be your mom, it could be an aunt, it could be a teacher, it could be anyone you love that you want to celebrate being in your life by getting them some flowers. And you can do this science activity with them by dissecting what we called our composite flower. Now, last year, we also did an activity where we dissected a different type of flower, a non-composite flower. And non-composite flowers will have a lot better distinction between some of their anatomical parts. Now, we said there was one part of our dissection that is going to require a sharp utensil. And so I'm actually, before the program, I actually used my scalpel to take my kind of bare flower head here. And I actually did a quick dissection of the two parts. So if I go ahead, and I've already cut it ahead of the program, now I can just peel off one part of my flower. We can actually take a look at some of the structures inside here as well. So we call this part of the flower, this green, more firm structure, we call it the pedicel. Pedicel is like the stem of your flower, and it's really there to give structure, so that this flower has a lot of rigidity so that when pollinators land on the plant, they're actually able to land there safely, not hurt the flower. It also gives them structure to hold up to the wind as well. Wondering if maybe if I move my piece of paper here, maybe that will help our view to get a little better. Oh yeah, look at that. So if we look up close and inside, we can see each of the points where our disc flowers actually were once attached. So like we said, there's so many flowers you could dissect, and there's all sorts of guides online. Dissecting flowers is a great way to celebrate May science, but this is not the only activity that we have here at the Michigan Science Center this month. We also have our cockroach collection on display. So our cockroach colony that you might have met just over a year ago actually are a great way to celebrate May science as well. And we'll be doing an entire episode next month celebrating decomposers and how you can actually help to act in the process of decomposing rather than throwing things in the trash. So I'm going to go ahead and let me switch my camera back over here. And let's wrap up with a few final things before we say goodbye to Echo Live today. Ooh, my virtual background's going to misbehave on me. But like we said, we are celebrating May, the month of Science in Bloom, all month here at the Michigan Science Center and with our episodes of Echo Live this month as well. If you are interested in coming to the Science Center, of course, you can purchase tickets on our website. But even better, our virtual and in-person summer camps are available for registration on our website now as well. So if you want to join us here at MySci for summer camp this year, head to our website. It is early bird pricing right now. So as long as you register before May 15th, you are able to get special pricing to come to the Science Center for summer camp this year. And you can do all sorts of activities and dissections, see all of our various stage shows right here with us in our building. Now, of course, we bring you episodes of Echo Live every Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. And next week, we'll actually be featuring a pretty special guest, or maybe should I say guests. So if you think you might know, since we talked about what the topic of next week's episode might be, if you think you know who our special guest might be, feel free to take a guess in the chat, but definitely tune in next week so you can hear from our special guests and continue learning all about science in bloom with us here at the Michigan Science Center. So thanks everyone so much for tuning in. I definitely recommend trying out your own flower dissection at home. You can of course tag us in any pictures, post a picture of your dissection in the chat. Let us know how it goes. We would love to see it. And otherwise, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Happy Star Wars week, and I will see you next time.